Can faith be created? Yes, it can, and this is how I do it. Let's talk about faith for a second and define it. I personally believe that faith is when you act with absolute certainty that something will happen. Another definition or another way of looking at it is having faith is having trust or belief in something without actual proof. Right? Some real world examples. We drive down the roadway, double yellow line. We have faith that when that car, that speeding missile is coming at us, it's not going to cross the double yellow line. That's a 1-ton speeding missile coming at us, at minimum. Pickup trucks might be 2 tons flying at us, hurling through the sky at us, but we have faith that it's not going to cross that double yellow line. We have faith riding an elevator that it's not going to plummet to the basement. We have faith flying in an airplane that it's not going to fall out of the sky. We have faith when we sit in a chair that the legs aren't going to break, and the chair is going to cease to exist, and we're going to go right down. Right? There's plenty of times that we have faith, we don't even realize that we're displaying it. Best story I can tell you about faith is Hershey, Pennsylvania. So the Hershey chocolate factory. You know the Hershey chocolate bars? Milton Hershey. Back in the 1900s, he went to Derry Township to build his chocolate factory. When he was building that chocolate factory, he did not have the actual recipe that he was going to use for chocolate. But he had faith that that recipe would materialize. He was trying different things, different suggestions, different ingredients, different amounts, like all of that. He was going through that process, but he didn't have the actual recipe. And he was going through all of the effort, the cost, the capital expenditure, the thought process. He was doing all of this work in building the chocolate factory, but he didn't have anything to produce in it. He didn't have the recipe. Without the recipe, the chocolate factory is useless. But he had faith that that recipe would come. And eventually it did. Right? It's a happy ending. A key to faith is repeated instruction. So we're repeating the instruction that we're given our subconscious. We believe that it's going to happen. It's part thought, part emotion. We're really getting our senses into this. This will happen. A couple of times in my life when I really displayed faith was going to the fire department. I believed with absolute certainty that that was going to happen and nothing was going to stop me. And I jumped through all the hoops that were required of me. Faith is taking action even when you aren't sure of what to do, because you know the act of taking action will reveal the other steps. So the act of taking action, you have faith that the act of taking action will reveal the other steps you need to take. I want you to think about this as driving a car down a highway. You're hurling down the highway. It's pitch black out. You can only see so far because of the headlights that the car is illuminating. The car's headlights is illuminating the roadway. You can only see so far because of that illumination. Yet, you still hurl down that roadway at 55, 60 miles an hour because you have faith that the roadway is going to continue. But who says it will? But yet we stand there and we hurl ourselves down the roadway because we have faith that it's going to be okay. The energy we put out into the world is energy that we come back to us. So this is another big part of faith, right? I believe that, and I have faith in, I put out good energy to the world, and that energy then comes back to me, and it comes back to me through things like relationships. Primarily relationships, connections, people that are willing to help me, people that resonate with my message, and they're willing to offer suggestions to make me better so that I can go out there and have more impact and a bigger impact on people. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's a very, very interesting statement, right? When I'm taking on an endeavor that I'm not quite sure how to do it, like when I started my first business, right? I had no clue what I was doing. I was literally, like they say, jump and build the parachute on the way down. I felt like I was running around with my hair on fire, and there wasn't a possibility of a parachute being built. But at each integral time, I ran into an accountant that spoke to me about how to do my books. When the time came, I actually found a space. I looked for a space for my business. It probably was, it was somewhere between 3 and 6 months. And I'm in a very small area, I'm in a very rural area, so there weren't a lot of properties that I could use to run my business. I had very specific needs to run. I run a preschool. I had very specific needs for that preschool. And there weren't a lot of choices to be made in the very small area that I was looking. But the teacher appears when the student is ready. I just wasn't ready to physically open my doors yet. I thought I was, but I wasn't. And when I was physically ready to open my doors, the teacher appeared, the teacher in this scenario being the landlord. And I found the best landlord there ever was. But by going through that process, I just had to keep faith that I was going to one day find a solution to that challenge of, I don't know where I'm going to physically open my preschool. Faith's what you lean on when you don't have all the answers, right? Like, again, we rarely have the answers. We have clarity of direction, but we don't know exactly how it's all going to pan out, right? So we have clarity of direction. We even have the confidence that we're going to achieve whatever our intention is. Faith is the glue that holds that together. Because on that journey, you're going to take knocks. And faith is what holds your confidence together with your intention so that you continue to move forward. Faith is how we stay out of the scenario of 3 feet from gold. I'll be telling that story when we talk about, in the studio, when we talk about the wall behind me, I'll be telling you the story about 3 feet from gold. Essentially, the gist of that story is somebody gave up too early. They didn't have faith that they were going to be able to proceed. Let's talk about a real life example. Let's talk about what we're doing right here in front of you right now. 100 and 100 story. I'm going to tell you the 100 and 100 story. So, for me, I joined the mastermind. That mastermind exposed me to individuals. One of the individuals put a post up on the chat board. He said he was looking to talk to other individuals that were interested in coaching. He wanted to go over a book, Donald Miller's Coach Builder book. And I said, oh, I'm looking to do the same thing. Let's get together. Through our weekly meetings and the relationship that we built, he then introduced me to another individual. That individual was a coach on YouTube. And when I met with that individual, he had made suggestions on what to do with my YouTube channel. And in passing, he had just mentioned that, oh yeah, I had a client that I challenged him to do 100 posts in 100 days. And that was the end of it. And then I said to myself, after I got off that call, I said to myself, you know what? That'd be really interesting. That's a really good challenge. I can build really good skill sets out of that, right? Ton of content, the skill set of actually researching things, taking notes, portraying that to you, the skill set of speaking. There's a ton of skill sets that could be taken from that. I have the faith that I can do that. Now, I will tell you that even to this, I'm whatever 10 or 12 days, 14 days, somewhere in there. I'm probably 12 days into it. I still don't know exactly how I'm going to do 100 videos in 100 days. That sounds really easy, but I still don't know exactly how that's going to pan out. But I have the faith that I'm going to be able to do it. Let's talk about how we actually develop the faith now. Some of the ways we develop faith, or some of the ways that I've developed faith. I can only share with you what I've done that has helped me, in hopes that it will help you. But positive self-talk, right? Positive self-thought. I've kind of almost hammered home too much on this lately, but it really is true. You have to think about the self-talk that you're having. And when you have self-talk that is in the positive light, you're more apt to believe in the future. Faith is about believing in the future. Positive self-talk is about believing in the future, about believing in your ability, about having faith that the stars will align, that the teacher will appear when I am ready, right? You have to have those beliefs so that the faith can carry you forward. Faith is there to pull you forward, to support you. Bring emotion into it. So that faith is, when I was going to the fire department, I really needed to get to the fire department. At least in that moment, that's how I felt. And I needed to get to the fire department because at the time, I was burnt out as a cop. I wasn't happy with the atmosphere of a cop. I loved being on the street and helping people. I wasn't happy with the administration. I would walk in, when they say summons quotas, that's a real thing. I would walk into the station house and they wouldn't ask me how many people I helped. They wouldn't ask me how many radio runs I did. They wouldn't ask me how many arrests I made. They wouldn't ask me how many kids I kept safe, how many ladies I walked home from the subway because they didn't feel safe. They didn't ask me any of that. You know what they asked me? How many summonses did you write? And then, in addition to that, they wanted to know the different types of summonses. How many A's and how many B's? A's were parking summonses, B's were moving violations. That's what they wanted to know. I just got burnt out because I didn't become a police officer to write summonses. That wasn't my job. My job was to protect and serve. My job was to stand the front line in between evil and the people. That was my job. And they didn't care about that. The administration didn't care about that. They only cared about how many summonses you wrote. Sorry about getting off on a tangent there, but it really, I was in a bad place. I wasn't enjoying going to work. I enjoyed the job of helping people. I enjoyed the job of answering radio runs. I just didn't enjoy going to work and dealing with the political bullshit. I really needed that change. I had faith that I'd be able to roll over to the fire department. I had faith in that process, that going to the fire department would lead me into a new chapter of my life. And that's exactly what happened. And in doing so, I had to meet individuals that gave me instruction, right? Like in the fire department, the physical exam is a big part of it. So you have to drag hose, you have to lift ladders, you have to do forcible entry. I met individuals that taught me the proper techniques to do that. And those individuals appeared to me. Big thing on proximity too. You could talk to proximity about that. But I had faith that those individuals would appear. I had faith that I would pass the physical, that I'd pass the psych, that I'd pass the medical. I had faith that I would make it through the process. Believing in the impossible. I have a mentor of mine, Jason Dries. He wrote the book, Do the Impossible. It's a great book. And he asked me 3 questions once. He said, and I'm going to ask you these questions. I want you to pay attention to how you feel. as I finish asking the question and how you feel through your thought process of the question. What do you want? That's the first question. What do you want? How does that question make you feel? And when you think about what you want, what are the thoughts that are conjured up? What's the self-thought? What are the emotions and the feelings you're feeling inside? Pay attention to that. Get in the present moment and pay attention to what's being conjured up inside. What do you want? The next question is, what's possible? Think about what's possible. How's that make you feel? What chitty chat is going on in your mind? Now the third question. What's impossible, but would be really, really cool if you were to do it? How's that make you feel? What's the chitty chatter going inside your head now? After that third question, are you starting to see a glimpse of the future? Like, are you starting to see, oh, like that might be possible. Like, that'd be really cool to do. Like, oh, I might be able to do this to make that happen. Having faith in doing the impossible allows you to grow. It pulls you along. If we look at our minds as the gardens, oh, this is a really good point. I wrote this down, and I'm going to read it direct off the sheet for you. I'll hold this up so you don't have to look at the top of my head, right? If we look at a mind as gardens of fertile soil, and our thoughts as seeds planted in that soil, then faith is the fertilizer that allows those seeds to grow. Think about that. Our mind's the garden, our thoughts, our attentions, our goals, those are the seeds that we're planting. And having faith that that will happen, that it is possible, is the fertilizer that makes those seeds grow. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought. Think about the word impossible. It literally spells out, I'm possible. And you are possible. It is possible. You can go out there and absolutely crush it. Remember, guys, we live up top. We live up top in results, not down here in excuses. We live in the numerator, not the denominator. Go out there today. Be unstoppable. Crush it, guys. I absolutely love the time we spent together. Go out there and crush every single day. Live intentionally.